or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. So you have quickly found out this is not Art Lewis. It's Matt Fallon, guest hosting here for Art Today. And I'm joined by the illustrious Tara Jaliga from the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance. We are guest hosting together this morning. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning. Could you spell illustrious, please?
No, I did not sign up for that level. We are on location. We are in Frankenmuth at Bavarian Blast, the biggest water park here in the state of Michigan. And we are joined this hour by, much like you're listening to the Art Lewis Show, we are joined by the Jamie Furbush, the president and CEO of the Frankenmuth Chamber and CVB. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
So we have to, we're going down this rabbit hole. We don't have a choice. Can you explain to our listeners why you are the Jamie Furbush and not that guy, Jamie Furbush? Because, I think people across the region get confused.
Yeah, no problem. So, number one, female, girl, whatever, big, little, we get lots of things. But yes, my husband has the same name, Jamie Furbush.
So funny. The listeners have to know about this.
Yeah.
It
haven't cause even confusion. I think for some of you it's caused confusion.
Absolutely.
And I feel like this conversation needs to happen on air.
Yeah.
So how does one Jamie Furbush meet the other Jamie Furbush?
Good old days at CMU. That's how those things happen.
And what did your family say when you were like, "Oh, I'm dating someone else named Jamie"?
I don't think they really didn't make a big deal of it, to be honest. I don't remember it. Maybe it's just that it was that long ago that I can't really remember it being a big deal. I did have uncles that were like, "Are you serious? You have to find someone else." But yeah.
And so what was your maiden name?
Hellebuck.
Okay. So it was just at the time, so we're not creeping everyone out. It was two Jamies.
Two Jamies.
Then when you got married, were you like, okay, this would be complicated on paperwork, this would be complicated for people, I'm going to hyphenate my name, I'm going to stay with my maiden name.
No, that never...
I'm going to do what Phoebe does in Friends and just make up your own name. What was your move then at that point?
There was no move. It was what it was. But I will say when we moved up to the region, because we, right out of college, lived down in Rochester, and when we moved up to the region, he tried to change. His birth name is James, but he's never gone by that because his dad and his grandpa were both James, and they called him Jamie his whole life. So he tried to change it professionally to James, and he didn't answer. He couldn't get used to it.
Wasn't
and
fitting.
so so when he changed jobs and went to Covenant Healthcare, he became Jamie again, and he was always Jamie at home, but it just didn't stick. So we tried, but
you know what? I've decided the region. That's one of my powers here in the Great Lakes Bay region. I've decided the region is in fact big enough for two Jamie Furbushes.
Oh,
and
thank you.
The reason is I didn't know him before, and he's lovely. So I'm going to allow it. I'm going to accept it. We can handle two. You guys, seriously,
you'll have to get him on the show, and then you and I, we can talk about who does a better.
That's going to happen. Although he's going to have to joust with
Jamie
Jeff Larson.
Competition.
Yes.
You know what? I think we
can get a scoreboard.
We can do more. We can do the Jamie Furbush games now.
We could have categories.
And
I get to talk about Funtown, though. That's a little bit more exciting than healthcare.
That is. But I think Category 1 is going to be a Hofbrau slamming competition at the Bavarian Inn Lodge.
No, he's probably got me on that one.
Okay, so we know. So the Jamie lost to the other Jamie in at least one. Well, let's chat about your favorite subject. And you got to love it in the background. We're literally in the lobby at Bavarian Blast, but your favorite subject is Funtown.
It is.
And all things Frankenmuth. I want to start by talking about Bavarian Blast.
Yeah.
What is this going to mean to tourism, just not for the Bavarian Inn and the Bavarian Lodge here, but what's going to mean to tourism overall here in Frankenmuth?
Yeah, I think it really helps. It really helps redefine our destination to the traveler, not just within the region, but when we have people that visit us from all over the country, all over the world, quite frankly, and
I want to stop you there because that's a great distinction because we know Frankenmuth because we live here.
Right.
But and I see different rankings all the time. A lot of times people compare it to Mackinac, but Mackinac's only really open to tourists a certain shorter segment of the year.
Yeah.
Is Frankenmuth the number one tourist destination in the state? And how do you get that distinction? What's the fight on that?
we've left that to the media sources to determine that. Quite frankly, I think it depends, how you measure things. So we've never tried to claim that title necessarily, but I definitely think we're one of the most visited destinations in the state, especially for a small town. You got to remember we're a city of only about 5,000 people, so to attract millions of visitors a year, and really all 4 seasons long, is it's one of our primary economic drivers of this entire community, and really it helps to drive tourism throughout the entire region. And so what the water park expansion does for us, not just here at Bavarian Blast, but throughout Frankenmuth and throughout the region, is it puts us on the map with other national destinations that are really famous for being water park destinations, right? You think of Cedar Point over in Sandusky, where they have multiple big water parks, or Wisconsin Dells. If you look on a national scale, those are the kind of destinations that are really well known for that. And we like to think, when you talk about Mackinac, we have good friends. Liz Ware from Mission Point Resorts, a good friend of mine on the Michigan Travel Commission with me, and we think that having all of these great assets as a Michigan tourism product is really important. And so we don't like to think we compete with Mackinac. We're good partners, and in fact, a lot of our visitors will travel to Frankenmuth, on buses or even just family vacations here on their way up to Mackinac or vice versa. And so, and the same goes true with other destinations on the west side of the state too, Traverse City and the beach towns and all of that. So we're really just, I think, blessed to be a part of a really great tourism state. But what they have created here, the Zender family, with the Bavarian Blast expansion, helps to elevate our destination in our region on a kind of a national map as a destination for water park enthusiasts. So that's really big for us.
So I know you have had the opportunity to watch the entire construction process, and I've been through several times. But that first day that it opened, and you got to walk through those doors and see the water park in all of its glory, and see, right now we have people walking in all around us, behind us, with bathing suits, little kids, goggles, the whole bit, adults. Everyone's got a giant smile
Zip
on their
lining
face.
behind you.
Yeah. I actually got startled by the zip lining kids. I'm like, look out, Jonathan, incoming. They were zip lining quickly. What were your thoughts that first day when you saw it complete and saw, finally we're here? What was going through your head?
I didn't have to live the pain. I know you had the Hendricks team here earlier, and I didn't have to live the pain of that construction the way they all did, but I'm just very grateful when I walk through as a resident of this community. My kids, this is their playground, right? They're very spoiled and blessed to be able to have been here multiple times throughout the construction as the different phases have come about. But it is such an exciting thing for us. I've always said one of my favorite parts of my job is looking out my front window onto Main Street and watching these little kids and families that are dancing around with their dad down the sidewalk, and that is a special time that they're going to remember forever. And you look around here and you think about the memories families are making. You cannot replace that with anything, and it's, to me, the most valuable thing that we all have. And so it's just, for me to sit back and watch it all is really what the part I enjoy the most. It's really, really cool.
So Tara, the big question I have to ask you are a Frankenmuth family in terms of you love Frankenmuth more than anyone I know.
Yeah.
I know you were scheduled to be here when we thought it was going to be open, and it didn't work. When are you coming with the entire Jaliga clan to enjoy Bavarian Blast? When should they expect you, so that the city's got to get ready when you guys come?
I know.
It's a huge ordeal, so we got to figure this out. When are you guys coming?
I know, and by the time I wrangle all of my family back up again into one location between sports and travel and all of the other things, it probably will be that fall, timeline that we're looking at. However, I was telling Jamie that last night I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and we have this group of my best girlfriends, and we like to go on girls' weekends. And I said I am booking one of the little, Airbnb places on Main Street, and you just sealed it. You just talked about how sitting in your house.
Yeah, she said they wanted a spa that like a hotel spa,
yeah.
And I said, well, our spa isn't connected to a hotel, but you can be right downtown Main Street, whether it's a hotel or Airbnb or whatever, and you can walk downtown to River Place to the spa. You can still have the spa experience. You can still go do the Fun Ships wine and chocolate tasting, or St. Julian's, or or heck, come here and do the little zip line thing, and you'd probably laugh and have a great time, right? So
Before you do that, though, you are going to want to change before you zip line. I would not encourage you to do that or the rock wall today.
Yeah.
Maybe not the right attire. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to continue talking about all things Frankenmuth.
There's so many. It's funny because we just small, I shouldn't say small and big, but truly like small improvements and big new things. So I just was meeting with our friends from the Bertrand Chamber in the last couple of days, and we talked about this, really this concept of the community wanting things to sort of remain same from a foundational perspective, safe, clean, welcoming. We're a faith-based community. A lot of those core values that we have as a community, but we always want something fresh and new, right? And Bridget Smith, our city manager, will frequently say it's important for us to keep painting our fence, our white picket fence at our homes, right? Yep. And so I think, to your point, it's important in all of our business. We're very, very blessed with a community full of local owners, so they are constantly reinvesting and reimagining. So this is obviously a big dream that somebody at the Bavarian Inn family imagined and researched and then eventually came to fruition, right? But there's a lot of small businesses as well who are constantly trying to figure out how to make their spot in this unique destination really special and or launch something new. So there's a lot of those examples. River Place has some really great examples. Actually, one of I just grabbed in my visitor center. I was trying to think of what are some of the new things I could talk about. It's not brand new. They've been here a couple years, but you might not know about it. The Frankenmuth Trolley has they start at the River Place shops and they do historical tours. At Christmas, they do light tours.
We did that with IFL last year.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. There's a new Wings Bistro. One of our restaurants opened a new My Pot or Me Pot restaurant back behind Bronner's here on Weiss Street earlier this year. The Zenders across the street, the Zenders of Frankenmuth family, they have some massive improvements and big plans happening as well. One that you can already see kind of in the process of being renovated is the mill at Zender Park. And so when you come down Main Street now, the exterior of the building is relatively complete. And so especially in the evening, I love coming from the north to the south and you see this the mill. It sort of changed the landscape a little bit of the downtown skyline. And so it's going to be 4 boutique style suites that they offer at this really special property. Each will have a view of both Main Street side and the river side. We really,
that's so cool.
Yeah, we really don't have a lot that capitalize.
There's only you're 4. Not lying.
And you actually can see it from the golf course as well. And they've made some really cool improvements over at the Fortress. So last summer they opened the Fortress Pavilion, which is not only a new pavilion for their golf outings and things, but they added a grill, so you can just go there for lunch even if you're not golfing. It's just a really beautiful place. They've got a nice sitting area out back. You can see the river and the backside of the mill property. So there's constantly, I think, developments in the works, and we're always brainstorming and working on big projects, but also all of the small business improvements that people make every year. I think of, like, as you go up kind of the hidden treasures that people might not know about, as you go along Main Street, Colonel Benny's is one of my favorite inspirational stories. They actually told their story of inspiration at the Governor's Conference on Tourism this year. But they are a popcorn shop. Have you ever been up to Colonel Benny's? And they have created this incredible beer garden outside. They do boozy shakes and all the fun things. They have entertainment there on Thursday nights. It's kind of the local hangout on a Thursday night. It's where you can go and meet everybody from the community. And on the weekends, obviously, it's full of visitors. And so right across from Willie's Sausage Company, kind of that area of town. So there's just development in all areas and kind of different scales, which is, I think, what makes us a little bit unique and special.
And you mentioned earlier the 5,000 people in Frankenmuth.
Yeah, residents, we only have about 5,000 in the city. There's another 5,000 or so in the township, I think.
So One thing I notice, I love to go into all the little shops and boutiques, and I end up talking to people, and I
Yeah.
talk to people, and it seems like almost every time I go in, the owners are in there.
Yeah.
They're working, or they're, putting shades up on the windows, or they're putting flowers in the flower beds, or whatever it is that they might be doing. So it's very, very interesting because it's a small community, but everybody seems to be hands-on, and I think that's one thing that
Helps make it work.
helps with that continuous improvement when
Yeah.
you got your heart and soul
They're very
into it.
present and very hands-on. Even in a bigger local business like this, right? It's not uncommon to see Michael Zender walking around picking up trash. Like,
Yeah.
it's sort of everybody's job, and I think that's just the community mentality here, and everybody works together and does their part. But our business owners are very vested, very present in their businesses, and I think that shows.
So I have to ask, do you worry that sometimes Franklin's getting too big? Because at the end of the day, you have Main Street that goes through town, and that's not expanding, right? It's set because, there's so many businesses that are there, and you have so many people coming in. Is it a challenge to convince people, hey, this is a walkable city and you need to walk, or to utilize things like the trolley because it continues to get bigger?
Yeah.
Traffic actually becomes a little bit of a problem in Frankenmuth. How do you guys find that balance?
Funny, so we actually are always talking about that, right? Because it is a small community, and I don't worry about it growing too big because, quite frankly, so I came from Macomb Counties where I grew up, Utica actually, where like Lakeside Mall is, and in the 5 years I went away to college, it actually was unrecognizable to me as a young person. It had grown so big so fast, and so I've always had that in the back of my head that I sort of don't want to see that happen here, right? And we're protected from that a little bit because of the agricultural community surrounding us. So Frankenmuth's only so big, and the Frankenmuth Township, we have a really good city and township partnership where our city and township leaders have great joint master planning that they work on together. So I think our growth potential, because agriculture is so important also to our community, that growth won't necessarily happen beyond the city very much. And I think what it does is it allows the opportunity for growth to happen in our neighboring communities, right? So as I mentioned, we talk to our friends in Birch Run or Bridgeport or even Buena Vista, and we know that we have a lot of traffic that comes on our peak festival weekends, that people are staying up in Bay City. We did the Women's Club does a holiday home tour, and our family was on that last year. We had a visitor from Canada who came through our home, and they actually were staying at a VRBO up in Bay City. And so that's not uncommon on the really popular busy weekends. So we hope to see some of the growth impact our neighbors in the region, and so that's part of the strategy. We also really work with the city and our DDA to try and do what we can to help that traffic problem, right? With making sure the congestion is managed as best we can in this small town. Not only are we small, but we have a river that runs through here that complicates things from a traffic perspective. And so we actually partner with the STARS organization, and for the last, I think this might be our 4th or 5th season going, we'll start August 1st through the end of the year on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from noon until 8 p.m. We have a shuttle that runs through town, and so you can park at Uptown North Main where there's not going to be traffic, and you can take that shuttle and do all the downtown things, and even
Or the carriage.
Or the trolley.
Or the trolley.
The trolley is not.
Or hop on a ship.
Yeah.
Or a boat.
There's a lot of ways to get around. Yeah.
So we're going to take another break. When we come back, I want to hear about all of the exciting events that are going to be taking place in Frankenmuth here in the weeks ahead.
Reliable
We're here with Jamie Furbush with the Frankenmuth Chamber and CVB, and we were talking a lot about, let's say, facilities, permanent things that are here. But when I think of Frankenmuth, I think of three things. One, I always want to come hungry because there's so much damn good food here. Number two, I always want to come thirsty because there's Hofbrau. And third, I always want to come because there's some kind of awesome event that's upcoming. And a lot of times we think that summer's event season, we know better. Frankenmuth's event season all year long. But you do have your big traditional events and a whole lot of summer events coming up. What should folks be looking for here coming up on the event front here in Frankenmuth?
Yeah, so actually next weekend we kick off with one of our biggest events, or more exciting events of the year, I think, because it surrounds our heritage, is the Bavarian Festival. So next Thursday night is the kickoff of the Bavarian Festival. Sunday will be the annual parade down Main Street. And then, there's some of our believe it or not, some of our bigger festivals happen not in the summer, but like we've already had our Snowfest, as you know, in the winter. And the Memorial Weekend Dog Bowl and Balloons Over Bavarian Inn is probably one of our biggest of the year. But so
you know what? My dog's been talking to me about it for the last year.
You're such a
Tara
bad dog,
took
Dad.
my dog last year for a weekend when I was out of town. And the next thing I know, I'm having pictures sent while he's at Dog Bowl having a blast.
In the kissing
Time of his
booth.
life.
Ronnie was in the kissing booth.
He was in the kissing booth. He was doing the whole thing. I mean, my dog was having a great time without me
Yeah.
in Frankenmuth.
Hey, even the dogs can have fun here.
I guess so.
Yeah. So anyway, going into the summer, there are a lot of other events as well. 4th of July, we have a race, the Volkslauf race with our 4th of July fireworks. Let's see, we have every second Thursday of the month throughout the summer, there is a food truck festival right here in the back of River Place Shops. So that's a really fun thing that goes throughout the summer. We also have, tonight, even you and I were talking about this a little earlier, Tara, on Friday nights throughout the summer, we have what's called Friday Fun Nights. We do just a series of entertainers up and down Main Street. And tonight, we have country line dancing, actually a partnership with our local Parks and Recreation Department. So there's sometimes musicians, other balloon twisters, face painting, whatnot, but every Friday. So there's always something fun going on, whether it's, Friday Fun Nights or food trucks or a festival or event. But the Bavarian Fest is a big one coming up next week, so we're excited about that.
So, Jamie, I want to leave on this. Frankenmuth is always, let's say, reinventing itself a little bit. It reinvented itself from, where
and
everyone knew
Christmas.
chicken and Christmas to now chicken and Christmas and water parks and
festivals.
shopping and festivals and, oh, for the love of God, charcuterie and everything else, right? Yeah, see? Charcuterie.
We're getting hungry.
We
It's
start,
getting-
yeah, you always have to come here hungry. But one of the great industries that exists in the country right now is youth sports.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give the entire Great Lakes Bay region credit. I think the entire region is embracing this and fully understands. And quite frankly, I think the region's sick of traveling all over the place for youth sports. And we said to ourselves, you know what? Why don't we host this here? So whether our friends in Saginaw have been hosting the State Cup Championships, our friends in Midland are now building an indoor
Yeah, the
facility at the
pickleball.
Midland Soccer Club.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, Frankenmuth is going to join the action. What should we expect in terms of youth sports for the future of Frankenmuth tourism?
I think I can't talk a lot about it quite yet. We're real close. Good try, but we're real close to talk about more of the details. So we'll be back in touch with it. But I can tell you that, yes, we will be in the sports game here in Frankenmuth. Quite frankly, we have been for a long, long time.
Yeah, what have we done historically here?
Yeah, even with our community ball fields that we have, they help sell out. They help sell out some of our hotels throughout the entire summer. Like
I have done
we have
tons of ball
tournaments.
tournaments in Frankenmuth over the years.
Yeah, and they want more teams. A lot of the organizers want to have more teams and whatnot, and so we'll be taking a little bit of a different spin, I think, on this one. But it, when you talk about those things that we're famous for, chicken and Christmas, festivals, water parks. Now, I do think when you prosciutto, I can't forget the
Pretzels.
prosciutto and pretzels and beer. Those things you can definitely assure you that sports will be on that list in the coming few years.
Well, I love it. Your job is so great because you get to talk about Funtown. Your job's so great, not dissimilar to mine, that we get to constantly talk about, promote something that we love, whether it's the region or for you, it's Frankenmuth. What I would say, though, I'm incredibly jealous of you because every single day there's something going on. Every single day you can jump into the action. But I think what's most exciting is that Frankenmuth leaders have always had vision, and they're always ready for what's next. And although there's some things we can and can't talk about, apparently, which I get, we know for sure that Frankenmuth will have something up its sleeve. And, you know, the next time you're on, you probably will be able to talk about that new thing that's happening.
You better believe it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have fun.
Thanks, Matt.
Track, I mean, sorry, and do the tree climbing with the ropes and everything. They have one right here in Frankenmuth, right behind us.
You don't need to go to Orlando to do that, Tara.
Absolutely. I have done the Frankenmuth course probably 5-6 times. I love it. The nighttime is the most fun. They light it up. It's a lot of fun. But you don't think about that all the time. When we go on vacations and we try to find escape rooms, there's a wonderful escape room right here in Frankenmuth.
It's too wonderful. I often can't get out of that escape room, proving to the world that I'm not as smart as I think I am whenever I'm in that escape room.
You try to book boat cruises and things of that nature. They have multiple lines of boat cruises here. Fun Ships has a great one. You can get, 10 people, maybe 10 to 12 people on the Fun Ships. And they'll do a nice chocolate and wine tour right up and down the river. You get to see the goats on the side of the river over at the mill and everything like that while you're tasting chocolate, and then you can get off and buy some of the chocolate and wine. There's so many things to do here that we look for when we go on vacation and don't realize we can just do it right here.
So I'm dragging Jonathan Dent into this conversation because I need to know, Jonathan, number one, do you consider yourself a millennial?
No.
I'm
early Gen Z.
You're early Gen Z. You know, that group, they'll do whatever they can to get out of being a millennial. No, seriously. You're a little bit younger than Tara and I. A little bit. Are you a Frankenmuth visitor? Do you find yourself coming here very often to partake?
Not super often, but I will say my family, my mom loves to travel. The rest of my family, not so much. So when we're talking about, let's take a family trip, let's go somewhere, Frankenmuth comes up often as it's right down the road. Spend a couple of nights here, and we're not too far from home, and we have a wonderful time whenever we do it. And I would like to do it again now that the water park's here, because that's always a fun time with at least the pool that they had before. So
it was a couple years ago. It was so funny. All the women in my family decided to take a girls' trip to Chicago. But it was also the first week of hunting season, and I don't hunt. So somehow, I was like the guy left behind, like the one person left. So I got my kids and my nieces and nephews, and I think I had like 10 of them. And I had them like a Thursday through a Sunday. It kind of hit Sunday, and I'm like, okay. Dad/Uncle Matt is done cooking and cleaning. I've had enough. And so it was so funny. I came to Bavarian Inn on Sunday, because everyone was getting back late. And I had this table for 12 with me and all these kids. And everyone just kind of looked at me like, oh my God, that dude is walking in with all these kids at one time. But it was great for me because I literally was done. I had had enough, and I'm like, we're having a big dinner. There's going to be no snacks tonight. We're going to do it up. But what was great? No snacks.
That's harsh.
We were done with snacks.
Harsh.
It had been a long weekend, Tara. But my point was 15 minutes we were here. And we were able to really be in a spot where we could get away, and I felt like I'd gotten us away from home, but it was a quick trip out. And I would say, Tara, I'm going to ask this question. For our locals that are listening, that sometimes go, gosh, Frankenmuth's going to be so crowded, I don't want to do it. What are your tricks of how you enjoy this as a local and maybe avoid some of the crowds? What do you do so that you can really enjoy it? Or, you know what, screw it. How do you just become part of the action?
You embrace the crowd.
See,
you just embrace the crowd. It's small, but it's still big enough and absolutely walkable. So just park your car somewhere, and there's plenty of parking, and just walk. You can get to everything on foot if you park your car and walk. And yes, you just have to embrace the crowds. Everybody around here is lovely, and I feel like even people that come from other areas that aren't as lovely, once they get here, it rubs off.
Yeah, Jonathan. So as you've been here and you're zooming around with us, it's actually our second live remote that we've
Yeah.
done here. What do you want to do the next time you're here, and what would you do as a local?
Well, I've actually got a question for both of you right now. My entire afternoon's work got canceled. Where should I go for lunch?